Hello and welcome to Misty Mountain Reads. My space has changed a little bit. If you have watched any of my previous videos, I used to shoot them in my bedroom with the same bookshelf behind me. And now I've moved all of my books, except for one small shelf, up to an office/book room. I am starting a fully remote job tomorrow, so we did some reorganization to get ready for that, and now I have a desk over here and chairs and more shelves that are not able to be seen in this video. And I'm really excited to be in this new space and finally have a place that's like dedicated to my books and hopefully to writing and making these videos. So with that being said, I have 5 new blind date books. I've done one of these videos before where I did what bookstores do and wrap a book in brown paper and write a brief, very brief description of the book so that you don't know what you're buying. And in this case, I'm not selling these books, but I will put the links for all of them in the description and you can go find them. Obviously, when you click on the link, you're gonna see the title of the book before you purchase it. So now you'll know if you've read it before, you'll know if you already own it. So that can be helpful, but try not to make any judgments based off of the cover, because that's kind of the whole point of the blind date, is that you don't make judgments based off of what the book looks like. Last time, I think I rambled a lot, and honestly, I ramble all the time. It's kind of what I do. But this time, I'm going to try to be more concise and stick to what I wrote on the cover and not try to go off on tangents. That being said, we'll see what happens. Book 1. This is a standalone high fantasy, technically young adult. However, I think that it would appeal to an adult audience. It appealed to me. I didn't even think that it was considered young adult until I looked at Goodreads. It's only considered young adult, I think, because of the age of the main character and the fact that we start the story when she's young and she progressively ages over the span of the story. That being said, there's nothing necessarily that would be considered mature content. It kind of verges on it just a little bit with themes, but there's no like spicy things in this book. So if you like spice, sorry, this one's not going to deliver on that. It is a coming of age, which I kind of hinted at, and the big plot here focuses a lot on politics and intrigue. There's a lot of, it takes place at court, in the royal setting. I don't want to give away too much. Friendship is a really big theme here, and on that, it's a slow burn. I would say there's a hint of romance. That is not the main plot line. So if you really like romance and you have to have it, it's there. It's not the main plot. So take that as you will. And lastly, I wrote, not everything is as it seems. And there's a lot of plot twists. There's a lot of things that you uncover with the main character. And I really appreciated the way that, I almost said the author's name and gave it away. I really appreciate the way that the story kind of moves with a steady pace, but doesn't rush development. And it's a very well-paced story, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So that's book 1. Book 2. This is also a standalone. I don't know if there are plans for a continuation of the story. I felt like it ended well wrapped up. So I'm going to just say this is a for sure standalone, even though it was published fairly recently. It's low fantasy. It's set in our world historically, but there are definitely fantasy elements in this. It reminded me strongly of The Starless Sea. If you liked The Starless Sea, I would say that you would almost definitely like this story. It's different, but has very similar themes of, it's a story for storytellers. I'm jumping ahead of what I wrote. It's a girl and her dog and doors to other worlds, which is really what reminded me of The Starless Sea, is the doors to other worlds and other stories playing a major part in the plot of this story. And it's also a coming of age it's coming of age. I wrote down finding your place in the world and the power of words. Those are 2 really big themes in this story. So that's book 2. Book 3. This one is, you can't really tell, but it's really heavy. It's pretty thick. This is a standalone historical gothic low fantasy story. And I would consider this slight horror, maybe more on the suspense side of horror. If you have read Dracula and you loved Dracula, this is a book you have to read. No exceptions. European mystery and adventure. Place is really important to the plot of this novel, and there's really good descriptions of European cities that I felt like I was totally immersed in. This is a slower pace story, but it's so suspenseful that I almost didn't feel like it's a slow build to this really big ending reveal that's really intense. So it does, if you're like, wow, I'm really struggling to get into this, keep going, push through, because it does build, and everything that you read at the beginning has significant impact in the end. So even if you're like, what is going on here? You're gonna get there. It's gonna make sense. At least to me it did. So I really hope you like it. Book 4. This is another fantasy. Surprise, surprise. This is a duology. All the other ones that I've talked about, standalones. This one has a second book. There is a third book that will be released eventually that is set in the same world, but not the same storyline. So that's coming in the future. This is an adult. The other one, book 3 is also adult. So I kind of read young adult and adult not simultaneously, that's not right the word. I read them equal amounts, and sometimes I feel like young adult melds into adult and vice versa. This has adult content in it, so mature. Okay. Enemies to Lovers, done right. Now, I've seen a lot of Enemies to Lovers book recommendations out there, and then read them, and it's not enemies to lovers. It's just people who, it's not. And this is. And I was really excited when I read this, and I was like, yes, they're actually truly enemies. And it felt like that it fit the trope. This world was very rich and well described without being overbearing in description. I felt totally immersed, and that was something that I really enjoyed about this. I also really enjoyed how fast-paced it felt and fun, and the characters I wrote were dynamic, and they drive the story. The plot is important, of course, to every story, but I just really enjoyed spending time with these characters. Does that make sense? It felt like they were friends, and they were funny, and I understood their choices. And sometimes I don't always get that in books, and so I really enjoyed that. Book 5. This is a standalone science fiction, my only non-fantasy recommendation this time. I wrote down psychological, reality is broken, and Inception vibes. This book was easy to understand for being science fiction. Sometimes I really struggle with understanding the concepts, especially with Inception. It just makes my head hurt. This was easy to understand, but still gave me the kind of like, what's happening? Is this reality? Is this not? Kind of like mystery that happens in that story. Memory and time are tied together. I love books and stories that those two ideas, memory and time, are things that I really like in stories, whether it's the importance of memories, or can we trust our memory, or, moving through time. Those types of things I just naturally am drawn to. And this had both of those, so automatic win. And I wrote down fast exclamation point, because this book happens quick. Everything from start to finish is like snappy. You are thrown in from the beginning, and there's really no time for pause. So I enjoy fast reads, and I enjoy slow reads. I'm kind of like, it depends more on the prose for me than the pace, if that makes sense. But yeah, fast. So those are my 5 blind dates for you. Again, I'm going to link the description. below somewhere so you can find them for yourself. And yeah, I hope that you enjoy them, and I really enjoy doing these videos, and thank you for watching, and see you next time.